The morning is a quiet moment, a transition from the peace of sleep to the hustle of the day. But for most of us, it's filled with automatic actions. Waking up, checking the phone, getting lost in the noise of emails, social media, or work-related messages. It's easy to forget that how we begin our day affects everything that follows. Just a quick reminder. If you're enjoying the content or find it helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. It's the best way to stay updated and support the channel. Now let's get started. You see, we live in a world that demands our attention at every turn. We wake up to notifications, news, deadlines, all vying for our mental space before we've even had a chance to breathe. But what if we shifted that pattern? What if, instead of rolling out of bed and jumping straight into autopilot mode, we took a few moments to ground ourselves first? I want to tell you about a practice that has the potential to change the way you approach every single day. It's not some new age trend or complex routine. It's something simple but incredibly powerful, the act of gratitude. Before you roll your eyes, let me explain how gratitude can be a game changer. It's more than a feel-good practice. It's an antidote to anxiety, entitlement, and the mental clutter we carry throughout the day. Let me ask you, when was the last time you woke up and simply thought, "I'm grateful to be alive"? Not because your life is perfect, but because you're here, breathing, experiencing another day. Most people, myself included, often forget the simple privilege of existence. It's easy to take it for granted, especially when we're bombarded with a to-do list that feels endless. But when you start your day with gratitude, everything changes. It shifts your mental state and sets the tone for your entire day. This isn't just some motivational fluff. This is backed by science, backed by philosophy, and backed by the experiences of people who've turned their lives around by changing how they begin each morning. Here's where we bring in Stoicism, a philosophy that's been around for centuries but is more relevant today than ever. The Stoics understood that external events are largely beyond our control, but our response to those events, that's where our power lies. Think about that for a moment. In a world where everything feels chaotic and unpredictable, the only thing we can truly control is how we respond. Gratitude is one of the most effective tools to take back that control. You may be wondering, how exactly does gratitude tie into Stoicism? Well, Stoics believed that happiness doesn't come from external circumstances or achievements, but from internal virtue, the practice of living with integrity, wisdom, courage, and moderation. Gratitude fits seamlessly into this framework. It's about recognizing what you have, not what you lack, and choosing to focus on the positives rather than the negatives. Real-life story time. I remember a moment in my life when this idea really clicked for me. I was going through a tough period, facing career uncertainty, personal challenges, and feeling overwhelmed by everything that seemed to be going wrong. One morning, I stumbled upon a quote from Marcus Aurelius that said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be." And in that moment, I realized I had been spending too much time in my head, feeling sorry for myself. The gratitude I had been missing wasn't for some big breakthrough, but simply for the fact that I was alive, that I had the opportunity to work through my challenges, and that I had the ability to choose my response. That realization marked a shift. It wasn't immediate, but over time I began to practice gratitude each morning. This small act had a ripple effect. My days started to feel more purposeful. I wasn't reacting to life's challenges, I was responding from a place of intentionality. This leads us to a fundamental principle of Stoic thought, mindfulness. The Stoics were essentially pioneers of what we now call mindfulness. They understood the power of being present, of controlling the mind rather than letting it be swept away by external forces. When you start your day with gratitude, you're practicing mindfulness, focusing your attention on the present moment and what's good in your life right now. Take a deep breath. Imagine you just woke up. Before you even get out of bed, close your eyes and think of one thing you're grateful for. Maybe it's something big, like a loved one in your life or your health. Or maybe it's something small, like the warmth of your bed or the cup of coffee you'll soon enjoy. No matter what it is, that simple acknowledgement shifts your perspective. It's like tuning an instrument. Your mind is the instrument, and gratitude is the tuning fork. Without tuning, the music sounds off-key, chaotic, and dissonant. But with gratitude, the music of your day flows smoothly, even when you face challenges. You are no longer being pulled in every direction by stress or negativity. Instead, you're grounded and centered, ready to face whatever comes your way. But don't take my word for it. Studies on gratitude have shown that it rewires the brain, leading to improved mental health, better sleep, and even stronger immune systems. Researchers from Harvard and Berkeley have found that people who practice daily gratitude report higher levels of happiness, more optimism, and a greater sense of well-being. This is because gratitude trains the brain to focus on what is good, rather than constantly searching for problems to solve or things to worry about. By practicing gratitude every morning, you're not just starting your day on a positive note. You're setting yourself up for long-term success in your mental health, relationships, and overall life satisfaction. You're choosing to rewire your brain in a way that makes it easier to stay calm and focused, no matter what life throws at you. So here's the challenge. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, resist the urge to check your phone or immediately jump into the chaos. Notice how that shifts your energy. See how it affects your mindset, your mood, and the way you engage with the world. This is where it all starts. With gratitude, with intention, with a shift in how you choose to respond to life. Have you ever woken up feeling like the weight of the world is already on your shoulders? You get out of bed and immediately your mind races with everything you have to do. Emails to answer, meetings to attend, tasks to complete, responsibilities that seem endless. The world rushes in without asking for permission, and you feel overwhelmed before you've even had a chance to stretch or take a breath. This is the trap that so many of us fall into. Waking up and instantly reacting to the external demands around us. It's like being a puppet with strings pulled by emails, social media notifications, work pressures, and the endless to-do list. But the truth is, you are not meant to wake up every day already on the defensive, reacting to life. What if, instead of being swept away by the tide of external pressures, you could take control of your day from the very beginning? What if you could approach your mornings with a sense of purpose, clarity, and inner calm? What if the way you started your day could change everything that follows? This is where the real power of Stoicism comes in. The Stoics believed that life is full of challenges, hardships, and unexpected events. What matters, they taught, is not what happens to us, but how we respond. And the key to mastering our responses is awareness of our thoughts, our emotions, and the choices we make. When you wake up, you have the opportunity to make a choice. You can choose to get caught up in the whirlwind of tasks, stress, and worry. Or you can choose to ground yourself in the present moment, anchor your mind, and set a clear intention for the day. This choice doesn't come from an Instagram post or a motivational quote. It comes from the awareness that, just like the Stoics, you have control over how you respond to the world around you. When you make this conscious choice in the morning, you are essentially training your mind to start the day with purpose, not chaos. Let me share a personal story that illustrates the power of starting the day with intention. There was a time in my life when I felt like I was constantly chasing my to-do list. My mornings were rushed, I was always behind, and I felt like I never had enough time to catch up. I'd wake up with a sense of dread about the tasks I had to tackle, and that energy carried through the rest of the day. Then one day, I read about the importance of starting your day intentionally. A small shift, setting a clear intention each morning, was suggested as a tool to take control. The idea was simple. Before diving into the chaos of the day, take a few moments to center yourself and decide how you wanted to approach the day ahead. It could be as simple as deciding to stay calm, stay present, or approach everything with gratitude. So, I gave it a try. The next morning, I woke up a little earlier than usual. Instead of reaching for my phone or mentally running through my to-do list, I took a moment to breathe deeply and consciously choose how I would handle the day. I told myself, I will approach today with a sense of calm. That one decision to start my day with intention made a huge difference. I wasn't perfect, of course, but I found that when I set that intention in the morning, I handled stress more calmly, I was more focused, and I had a clearer sense of purpose. Instead of being pulled by the noise around me, I was directing my attention toward what truly mattered. The Stoics had a similar understanding. They knew that external events could throw us off course, but they also knew that how we respond to those events is entirely within our control. It's not the event that defines us, but our response to it. This Stoic wisdom is incredibly liberating when you think about it. It means that you don't have to let the world dictate your mood or your actions. You can choose how to respond. And this doesn't mean ignoring your feelings or pretending everything is fine. It means recognizing that you have a choice to respond with calm, clarity, and purpose, even in the face of stress. Now let's dive deeper into the power of intentionality in your mornings. Research has shown that how we start our day has a profound impact on how we feel throughout the day. A study from the University of California found that people who start their day with a positive, calm mindset tend to be more productive, less stressed, and overall more content. On the other hand, starting the day in a rush with a focus on stress and to-do lists often leads to a more anxious, reactive state. But it's not just about the external events of your day. Starting your day with intention also impacts your internal state. It's about the mental framework you build for yourself. When you wake up and immediately begin reacting to the noise and demands around you, you're living in a state of constant response. You're constantly in reaction mode, bouncing from one task or problem to the next without ever taking a moment to breathe or reset. On the other hand, if you take a few minutes in the morning to center yourself, you give yourself the space to respond mindfully, not just react impulsively. This small shift allows you to approach challenges with clarity instead of stress. You become less like a leaf in the wind tossed around by external circumstances and more like an anchor, steady and rooted in your own presence. But it's not always easy. Let's be real, life is busy and it's easy to fall into the trap of rushing through the mornings. We live in a world that prizes productivity and speed, so slowing down can feel counterintuitive. But this is where Stoic wisdom can help. How often do we rush through the day without truly being present? How often do we fill our minds with distractions, constantly chasing the next thing without taking a moment to appreciate where we are? The Stoics believed that true freedom comes from being present, from using our time wisely, and from living in alignment with our values. Starting your day with intention is the first step in aligning your actions with your values. Instead of getting caught up in the rush and noise, you're taking control of how you want to feel and how you want to respond. And when you make that decision in the morning, you are setting the tone for the rest of your day. One more piece of practical advice. As you begin this practice of starting your day with intention, you don't need to overcomplicate it. You don't need a 30-minute meditation routine or a long to-do list of goals. Start simple. Take 5 minutes in the morning, breathe deeply, and ask yourself how you want to show up today. The key is to give yourself that space to pause, to reflect, and to make a conscious choice before the world begins pulling at you. And if you forget, that's okay too. The beauty of this practice is that you can begin again every single morning. Every day is a new opportunity to choose how you will show up in the world. Going through the motions? Maybe you're doing things without even thinking about them. You wake up, you brush your teeth, you eat breakfast, you drive to work, and yet somewhere along the way, you lose track of time, space, and even yourself. It's almost as if you're not really living the day, you're just surviving it. This is the danger of living on autopilot, the risk of losing touch with the present moment. So often, we go through our days on auto-repeat. We wake up and immediately start reacting to everything around us: emails, social media, news headlines, work demands. We don't even give ourselves a chance to take a breath and be present. The problem with this is that when we're on autopilot, we lose our ability to make conscious, intentional choices. Instead, we let the world dictate our actions. We respond to external forces like the pressure of our jobs or the demands of social media, without ever stopping to ask ourselves, is this what I want? Before we know it, our entire day has been hijacked by notifications, obligations, and the constant noise of modern life. I want you to think about something. When was the last time you truly paused? I'm talking about really pausing, not just taking a quick break or checking your phone for a distraction. When was the last time you stopped, took a deep breath, and checked in with yourself? This is why starting your day with intention is so crucial. By choosing how you begin your morning, you regain control over the rest of your day. You move from being a passive participant in your own life to an active, intentional one. And you're not just doing this for the sake of productivity or getting more done. You're doing it because it reconnects you with your values, your purpose, and your power. I want to take you back to a simple concept that Stoics like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius often emphasized: self-awareness. The Stoics were firm believers that we have the power to shape our lives, but this power begins with understanding ourselves. They called it living according to nature, which means understanding what's in your control and what's not, and responding accordingly. In today's world, we have lost touch with this idea. The pressure to be constantly on, constantly reacting, has disconnected us from the most important thing: our own attention. The Stoics understood that the key to personal freedom was not about controlling the world around you, but controlling your inner world. They realized that no matter what's happening around us, we can still choose how we react. Think about this. Every single day we make hundreds of decisions, but if we don't consciously direct our attention, it's easy to get lost in the noise. What happens is that over time, these small moments of distraction accumulate. We find ourselves thinking more about what's coming next, rather than fully experiencing what's happening right now. This is where autopilot starts to take over. And here's the thing. When you're on autopilot, you're not truly living. You're just existing. How many moments are you missing because you're stuck on autopilot, rushing through life without really experiencing it? I remember a time when I was caught in that trap, just checking off boxes and going through the motions day after day. I would rush from task to task, never taking a moment to pause or reflect. But I started noticing something strange. Even when I was accomplishing things, I wasn't happy. I was often tired, anxious, and overwhelmed, and I realized I wasn't living in the moment. I was always thinking about what I had to do next, what was expected of me, and what I was supposed to accomplish. That's when I realized something fundamental. Being busy does not equate to living a meaningful life. It's easy to get caught in the trap of equating our worth with how much we can do. But in reality, the more we focus on what's coming next, the more we miss the opportunities and beauty in the present. This is why presence is such a powerful tool. It's the antidote to autopilot living. Being present is about consciously choosing where to direct your attention. And it's not just about work or goals. It's about taking a moment to appreciate the small things: the warmth of the sun, the sound of a friend's voice, the feeling of a deep breath filling your lungs. These moments may seem small, but they are the foundation of a meaningful life. Take a moment right now to reflect. Where is your attention? Are you fully engaged in what you're doing right now, or are you thinking about what's coming next? This shift in awareness is a key part of Stoic practice. The Stoics believed that most of our suffering comes from being distracted, from letting our minds wander toward things we can't control. When we practice presence, we allow ourselves to live fully in the moment. And this, in turn, helps us avoid the overwhelm that comes from constantly trying to manage what's outside of our control. Think of it like this. If your mind is like a garden, your attention is the soil. The thoughts you choose to plant and nurture will determine what grows. If you're constantly letting weeds, distractions, worries, external pressures take root in your mind, that's what will flourish. But when you focus your attention on gratitude, on what's important, on being present, you begin to cultivate a peaceful, fulfilling mental landscape. One of the biggest gifts you can give yourself is to take a moment each morning, or throughout the day, to check in with yourself. It doesn't have to be a long process. You don't need to spend hours meditating, though meditation can help. You simply need to take a few minutes to reconnect with yourself, to pause, to breathe, to reset. I know this isn't easy. In our fast-paced world, there's a lot of pressure to keep moving, to keep achieving, and to keep pushing forward. But the Stoics knew that true strength came from the ability to control one's inner state, not just to react to the outer world. And so the practice of intentional living, waking up with a clear purpose and a grounded mind, becomes not just a tool for productivity, but a way to stay present and fully alive in each moment. The beauty of this practice is that you can start anywhere. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. It doesn't matter how chaotic your life feels right now. What matters is that you make a conscious choice today to be present, to slow down, and to take control of your own attention. The Stoics believed in something called inner tranquility, the ability to remain calm and centered no matter what life throws at you. When you practice presence, you tap into that tranquility. You stop being a passenger in your own life and start driving the car. Let's take a deeper look at the power of gratitude, not just as a feel-good practice, but as something that can radically change the way you think, feel, and live. What's fascinating is that gratitude is not just a philosophical tool used by Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, but it has also been validated by modern science as one of the most effective practices for improving mental well-being. So, let's explore how gratitude works, not only in terms of Stoic philosophy, but also in terms of what we know about the brain today. The first thing we need to understand is that gratitude is about perspective. It's the ability to recognize what you have rather than focusing on what you lack. And let's be real, in our modern world, it's easy to get stuck in a loop of constant comparison, where we only see what we don't have or what we're missing. We scroll through social media and see other people's perfect lives, and it's easy to feel like we're falling behind. This creates a mindset of scarcity, a belief that there isn't enough, whether it's time, success, money, or love. But this is where gratitude comes in. Gratitude, according to modern psychology, is a tool to rewire your brain. It helps you shift your focus from scarcity to abundance. When you actively practice gratitude, you're training your brain to look for the positive, not just the negative. It's like choosing to wear a different lens through which to view the world. And the beauty of this practice is that it doesn't require you to change your circumstances. It only requires you to change your focus. Let's take a moment to look at what science says about this. Studies from institutions like Harvard and Berkeley have shown that gratitude practice can have a profound impact on our emotional and mental health. For instance, research has found that people who regularly express gratitude experience lower levels of depression and anxiety. They also tend to have better sleep, improved relationships, and a stronger immune system. The effects of gratitude on sleep are particularly intriguing. One study found that writing down what you're grateful for each day leads to significant improvements in sleep quality. Imagine that. A simple practice of reflecting on the good things in your life could help you sleep better at night. This is something that many people overlook, but the connection between gratitude and better sleep is not just about feeling good, it's about the physical impact it has on your body. But how does this relate to Stoicism? It's fascinating to see how the Stoics' understanding of gratitude aligns with modern psychological findings. For example, Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, spent much of his life reminding himself to be thankful. In his personal journal, Meditations, he often writes about the importance of appreciating what he has and recognizing that everything, including life itself, is a gift. But here's the genius of it. Marcus Aurelius wasn't being negative, he was practicing perspective. He was training himself to see that no matter how challenging the day might be, he was still alive, still in control of his response, and still able to choose his reaction. He was grateful for the gift of life itself, no matter the external challenges. So how does this relate to your own life? Let's say you wake up and the first thing you think about is all the things that are stressing you out. The difficult coworker, the overwhelming workload, the bills to pay. It's easy to get trapped in those negative thoughts, to let them dictate your mood and mindset for the rest of the day. But what if, instead of focusing on those stressors, you paused and said, I'm grateful to be here, alive, with the opportunity to handle these challenges? What if you reframe your thoughts before the stress of the day could take hold? Here's the key point. Gratitude doesn't erase the difficulties of life, but it changes how you experience them. It shifts your mindset from one of victimhood, where you feel at the mercy of your circumstances, to one of empowerment. You stop reacting to life as though everything is happening to you, and instead you begin to respond to life from a place of choice and awareness. A real-life example can bring this to life. Take someone facing a health crisis, for example. If that person were to spend all their energy focusing on the fear, the uncertainty, and the pain, they might find themselves spiraling into anxiety and hopelessness. But if, in the midst of that struggle, they paused to acknowledge the small things they still have, like their ability to receive treatment, the support of loved ones, the fact that they are still alive, they begin to shift their focus. This doesn't mean they are ignoring the reality of their situation. Rather, they are choosing to focus on what they can control, their mindset. Here's another example. Think about a time when you had to deal with a tough situation at work. Maybe you had a disagreement with a colleague, or you were dealing with an overwhelming project. If you approach it from a perspective of gratitude, you might say, I'm thankful for the opportunity to grow through this challenge. I'm thankful for the skills I have that can help me navigate this situation. This simple shift in perspective helps you approach the situation with a more positive, solution-oriented mindset. Now, this isn't always easy. It's easy to slip into a victim mentality where everything feels like it's happening to you. But the practice of gratitude is about breaking that cycle. It's about choosing to focus on the positive, on the opportunities for growth, on the lessons in every moment. It's a discipline. If you don't believe me, try this experiment. For the next week, start each morning by listing 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be huge, life-changing things. They can be small, like the warmth of your coffee in the morning or the way the sunlight filters through your window. It doesn't matter what it is, and just take a moment to acknowledge the good things in your life. And by the end of the week, notice how your perspective shifts. You might find yourself handling challenges with more patience and resilience. You might find yourself feeling more optimistic, more hopeful, and more grounded in the present moment. Here's the most powerful thing about gratitude. When you consistently practice it, you train your brain to naturally focus on the positive. It rewires your mind to be more appreciative, more present, and more content. Over time, this mental shift can have a profound effect on your overall well-being, your relationships, and your sense of purpose. So, whether you're practicing gratitude from a Stoic perspective or a psychological one, the results are clear. Gratitude is a transformative tool for mental health. It changes your mindset, improves your emotional resilience, and brings clarity in a world that often feels chaotic. And the best part, it's a free, accessible tool you can use at any moment. It's easy to get stuck in the routine of surviving, getting through the day, checking off tasks, and just making it to the end of the week. Life becomes something we endure rather than something we actively live. When we're caught in this cycle, we often forget the privilege of being alive, of having the opportunity to make decisions, to grow, to evolve. We forget the very thing that can shift everything: presence. Let me ask you this: how much of your day is spent surviving rather than living? Most of us go through the motions of the day, feeling like we're on a treadmill, running but not really going anywhere. We handle whatever comes our way, but we don't always pause to ask ourselves, is this the life I want to be living? This is where Stoicism can provide immense value. The Stoics believed that life is full of events we can't control. And that's true, isn't it? Life throws us curveballs, a difficult boss, a financial setback, a broken relationship. These things happen whether we like it or not. But what the Stoics also believed, and this is the powerful part, is that how we respond to life's challenges is what truly matters. It's not about whether or not life will be difficult. It's about how we choose to navigate those difficulties. The Stoics taught that the key to living a meaningful, fulfilled life is to stop merely surviving and start living intentionally, with purpose and clarity. This is where the real power lies. Survival mode, that frantic, reactive state we often find ourselves in, keeps us focused on the future, constantly worrying about what's coming next or dwelling on what happened in the past. It's like being on autopilot where we're just running from one thing to the next, trying to catch up with life. But living intentionally means being fully present in whatever moment you're in. It means recognizing that despite the inevitable difficulties, this moment, the one you're experiencing right now, is the only one you truly have. The Stoics believed that we should live in harmony with nature, both external and internal. Externally, we can't control the world around us, but internally we have the power to choose how we respond. This aligns perfectly with the idea of being intentional. Instead of letting life happen to us, we can make a conscious choice to engage with it fully. Here's a personal story. I once found myself in a situation where I was constantly on edge. I was always busy, always racing against time and feeling like I couldn't get ahead. I'd rush from one meeting to the next, from one task to the next, without ever stopping to breathe. I was surviving, not living. I was reacting to everything around me without ever taking a moment to step back and reflect. Then one day, I remembered something I had read about Stoicism, the importance of being present and engaged in the moment. So I decided to try something new. Every morning, before diving into my endless to-do list, I would take 5 minutes to breathe and center myself. I would simply remind myself that the day ahead was an opportunity, not a burden. I didn't need to rush. I didn't need to overwhelm myself with the future. All I had to do was focus on the present moment, one task at a time. This simple practice, grounding myself before the storm of the day could take over, made a huge difference. I began approaching my day with a sense of clarity and purpose. I didn't feel as though I was constantly chasing something. I was no longer just reacting to the demands around me. I was living with intention. And that shift, no matter how small, felt like a weight had been lifted. It wasn't about avoiding problems or pretending that life was perfect. It was about taking control of how I responded to the challenges I faced. The Stoics often spoke about the importance of self-control in navigating life's challenges. This is one of the most profound ideas in Stoicism. You are not defined by your circumstances. You are defined by your choices, your responses, and your actions. In other words, you have the power to shape your experience of life, no matter what comes your way. And that's what gratitude does, and it helps you take that power back. When you wake up with gratitude, when you choose to acknowledge the gift of simply being alive, you are taking control of your mindset. You're not waiting for the world to offer you happiness or success. You're choosing to create it within yourself, no matter what's happening externally. This is a practice, though, and it takes time. But think about the profound difference it can make in your life. Imagine waking up every day with the knowledge that you have the power to choose how you respond to the world around you. Imagine waking up with a sense of purpose, grounded in gratitude, ready to face whatever challenges come your way. You see, the shift from surviving to living isn't a dramatic one. It's not about some grand, sweeping change. It's about waking up every day and making small, intentional choices. It's about practicing presence, practicing gratitude, and practicing self-control. In the Stoic view, these practices are the foundation of a life well lived. They allow you to stop reacting to life like a leaf in the wind and start responding with clarity, strength, and purpose. A real-life example of this shift is the story of Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor who wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning. Frankl's story is one of the most powerful testimonies to the idea that we always have a choice in how we respond to life. Frankl survived years of unimaginable suffering in Nazi concentration camps, and yet he found a sense of meaning even in the most horrific circumstances. Frankl's key insight was that while we can't control the circumstances of our lives, we always have the power to choose how we respond. His response to his suffering was to find meaning in the smallest of things: the kindness of a fellow prisoner, the beauty of nature, the hope of a future beyond the camp. Frankl's experience exemplifies the Stoic principle that we are not victims of our circumstances, but the architects of our responses. Now, I'm not saying that all of us will face the kinds of extreme challenges that Frankl did, but we all face difficulties in life. The question is, how will we respond to them? Will we let ourselves be swept away by the chaos, or will we choose to live with intention, grounded in the present moment? So here's a challenge for you. Tomorrow morning, wake up and make a conscious choice to live intentionally. Start with gratitude. Acknowledge the gift of another day, of the opportunity to grow, to face challenges and to learn. Let that gratitude anchor you as you move through the day. Don't let the world dictate your mood. You can choose how you respond. This is the first step in shifting from survival mode to living fully. It's not about perfection, and it's not about making life perfect. It's about being present, being intentional, and taking control of your own mindset. The mind is a powerful tool, Kate. It can either be your greatest ally or your greatest enemy. Our thoughts shape the way we see the world, the way we interact with others, and ultimately the way we live our lives. In a world full of distractions, pressures, and constant change, our ability to control our thoughts and emotions is more important than ever. This is where mental discipline comes in, a central concept in Stoic philosophy and a cornerstone of emotional resilience. The Stoics believed that mastering the mind was essential to living a virtuous and fulfilled life. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, understood this well. In his meditations, he frequently reminded himself that the world is often outside our control, but our responses, our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, are always within our grasp. The idea was simple. If we want to live a meaningful life, we must first master the only thing we truly control: our own mind. But what does it really mean to master your mind? In the context of Stoicism, it means cultivating the mental discipline to choose how you react to life's challenges rather than being swept away by your emotions. It's about not letting external events dictate your mood or state of mind. Instead, you choose how to engage with the world, how to interpret events, and how to respond to them. One of the core Stoic practices that can help you master your mind is self-awareness. This isn't about becoming perfect or having flawless control over your emotions, but about becoming aware of your thoughts and feelings as they arise, and then deciding how to respond. It's about building the space between stimulus and reaction so that you can choose a measured, intentional response rather than automatically reacting with anger, frustration, or fear. Let's take a moment to think about how this might play out in real life. Imagine you're dealing with a stressful situation at work. Maybe a deadline is approaching, or you're in a difficult meeting with colleagues. Your natural instinct might be to feel anxious, defensive, or even angry. But here's the key. Instead of letting those emotions take control, you pause and acknowledge them. You recognize that you're feeling anxious, but you don't let the anxiety control your behavior. Instead, you take a deep breath, regain your composure, and respond thoughtfully from a place of calm. This is mental discipline in action. It's the ability to notice your thoughts and emotions without being overwhelmed by them. It's the ability to decide how you want to respond, even when things aren't going as planned. Think of it like a muscle. Just as you train your body to grow stronger through exercise, you can train your mind to become more resilient through consistent practice. The more you practice mindfulness, gratitude, and self-awareness, the stronger your mental discipline becomes. And over time, this leads to greater emotional resilience, which means that you're less likely to be knocked off course by life's inevitable challenges. One of the most powerful tools in cultivating mental discipline is the Stoic practice of negative visualization. This may sound strange at first, but it's actually an incredibly effective way to train your mind to be more resilient. Negative visualization involves imagining worst-case scenarios in order to prepare yourself mentally and emotionally for challenges. The idea isn't to dwell on negativity, but rather to appreciate what you have by recognizing how fragile it can be. For example, let's say you're worried about losing your job. Instead of letting the fear of that possibility consume you, try imagining the worst-case scenario. What would happen if you lost your job? How would you cope? What resources do you have to fall back on? The point of this exercise is not to catastrophize, but to help you realize that even if the worst happens, you can handle it. You're stronger than you think, and you have the tools to deal with challenges as they come. This practice of negative visualization helps shift your perspective from fear and anxiety to a place of empowerment. By confronting the worst-case scenario head-on, you realize that you are more resilient than you give yourself credit for. And this, in turn, allows you to approach life's challenges with greater calm and clarity. The answer lies in creating small, consistent habits that strengthen your mental discipline over time. Here are a few strategies that have helped me, and that can help you too. Start your day with intention. Begin each day by choosing how you want to show up. It could be through a brief moment of gratitude, setting a specific intention for the day, or simply taking a few deep breaths to center yourself before the world demands your attention. This simple practice helps set the tone for the day and reminds you that you are in control of how you engage with the world. Practice mindfulness throughout the day. When you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed, take a moment to pause and become aware of your thoughts. Notice how your body feels, where your mind is wandering, and what emotions are arising. This practice helps you separate yourself from your thoughts and emotions, creating a space in which you can choose how to respond. Reframe negative thoughts. When negative or anxious thoughts arise, try to reframe them. This shift in perspective can help you approach challenges with a greater sense of empowerment. Cultivate gratitude. Every morning, take a moment to reflect on the things you're grateful for. Gratitude helps train your mind to focus on the positive, which builds resilience over time. Even in difficult situations, focusing on what you're thankful for can help you maintain a sense of balance and calm. Negative visualization. As mentioned earlier, spend a few moments imagining worst-case scenarios, not to dwell on negativity, but to prepare yourself emotionally for any challenges that may come. This practice strengthens your mental resilience and helps you approach life's ups and downs with greater calm. Reflect and journal. At the end of each day, take a moment to reflect on how you handled the challenges you faced. Were you able to respond with calm and clarity? Where did you slip into reaction mode? Use this reflection as a learning tool, not as a way to judge yourself, but as a way to grow stronger and more intentional with each passing day. By implementing these practices consistently, you'll begin to notice a shift in your mindset. You'll start to approach life with more calm, more clarity, and more purpose. And as you strengthen your mental discipline, you'll find that your resilience grows, meaning that you'll be better equipped to face whatever challenges life throws at you. The beauty of Stoicism is that it doesn't promise an easy life. It promises a resilient life, a life where you have the mental tools to navigate challenges with strength and grace. It teaches you that you don't need to control everything around you to find peace. Instead, you simply need to control the one thing you always can: your mind. One of the most powerful lessons in Stoic philosophy is the idea of letting go of the past. It seems simple enough, but for many of us, it's one of the hardest things to do. We carry around the weight of old mistakes, regrets, and missed opportunities. We replay past conversations in our heads, wishing we had said something different. We carry the shame of mistakes that can't be undone, and we let the shadows of yesterday follow us into today. But here's the thing: the past is already gone. No matter how much we try to fix it, it's beyond our control. And yet, we continue to drag it along, allowing it to shape our present and future. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They knew that holding on to the past is like carrying an extra burden that prevents us from fully living in the present moment. And this includes our response to past events. It's not the events themselves that define us, but the way we interpret them and the meaning we assign to them. You see, much of our suffering comes from our attachment to the past. whether it's regret over something we did or didn't do, or pain from a loss we can't change. But the more we focus on the past, the more we miss the present. We let our stories of yesterday steal the opportunity of today. This is where mental discipline comes into play. Letting go of the past isn't about forgetting it or pretending it never happened. It's about choosing to release its grip on us. It's about deciding that we won't let our mistakes define us and that we won't let our past suffering dictate our future happiness. Let's talk about a real-life example. Consider someone who went through a difficult breakup. They might replay every moment of that relationship over and over, wondering what went wrong and how they could have done things differently. They might carry feelings of regret, anger, or guilt. But here's the thing, the breakup is done. It's in the past, and no amount of mental energy spent on it will change the outcome. What that person can control is how they respond to the breakup now. Instead of letting that past event continue to dictate their emotional state, they have the opportunity to choose how they want to approach their present. They can acknowledge the pain, learn from the experience, and then let go of the need to keep reliving it. By doing so, they free themselves to live in the present and to create a future that isn't defined by that past event. The key to this process is self-awareness. You need to recognize when you're holding on to the past. You need to notice when you're replaying old stories in your head. And when you notice that, you can choose to release it. This doesn't mean denying your feelings. It means allowing yourself to feel them, learn from them, and then move forward. Let's break this down a bit further. In Stoic practice, the process of examining our emotions is crucial to growth. When we hold on to negative emotions from the past, they tend to fester and cloud our judgment. They create mental clutter that keeps us stuck in old patterns. The Stoics believed in examining our emotions and then moving on from them, not by suppressing them, but by understanding their root and choosing to let them go. Take another example. Think about someone who feels deeply ashamed of something they did in their past. Maybe they hurt someone close to them, or they made a decision they regret. That shame can hold them back from moving forward. They may spend days, months, or even years thinking about how they wish they had done things differently. But holding on to that shame doesn't change the past. It only weighs them down, preventing them from becoming the person they want to be today. The Stoics would advise this person to accept their past mistakes as part of their story, but not to let those mistakes define their future. The key here is acceptance. Not resignation, but acceptance that the past is done, and now you must choose to live in the present. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The past is dead, the future is uncertain." When we let go of our attachment to the past, we release the mental energy that's spent on regret, guilt, or self-blame. This doesn't mean we don't learn from our mistakes, but that we stop reliving them. We acknowledge the past, accept what happened, and then choose to move forward. A good practice to help with this is visualization. Imagine that you're carrying a heavy backpack filled with regrets and past pain. Every day you wake up and put that backpack on. It gets heavier and heavier as the day goes on, and it weighs you down physically and emotionally. Now visualize yourself setting that backpack down. It doesn't mean you've erased everything inside, but you've chosen to let go of the burden. You no longer need to carry it. You're free to live in the present without the weight of your past mistakes. This practice of releasing past burdens is crucial for mental well-being. When we let go of regret, we open up space for new experiences, new learning, and new opportunities. We stop being haunted by our past mistakes and start creating a future based on who we are now, not who we were. But let's be clear, this doesn't mean ignoring the lessons of the past. The Stoics were all about learning from life's experiences. What they're advising is that we stop allowing those past experiences to control us. We accept them, learn from them, and then move on. So, ask yourself, what are you still carrying from your past? Is there something you're holding on to that's keeping you stuck? Maybe it's a mistake you made, a lost opportunity, or a relationship that didn't work out. What would it feel like to release that burden and choose to live fully in the present. The beauty of this practice is that it's not a one-time thing. Every day we have the opportunity to let go of the past. Every morning when you wake up, you can choose not to drag yesterday's baggage into today. And each time you let go of the past, you create more space for peace, for joy, and for the future you want to build. Let's dive even deeper into the idea of letting go. As we've discussed, holding on to the past can weigh us down emotionally, mentally, and even physically. But what happens when we don't just let go of past regrets, but also release the negative emotions that arise in the present moment? Emotions like anger, resentment, guilt, and fear. They're all part of the human experience, but if we hold on to them for too long, they can limit our growth and keep us from living our best lives. The Stoics believed that our emotions are a natural part of being human, but they also believed that we have the power to control how we respond to those emotions. But this is a powerful reminder that many of the negative emotions we feel are rooted in our thoughts, our perceptions, and our interpretations of events, not necessarily the events themselves. When you start practicing Stoicism and mindfulness, you realize that you don't have to be defined by your emotions. Emotions are transient. They come and go, and they don't need to dictate your actions. But so many of us get caught in the cycle of negative emotions. We feel angry, we hold on to that anger, we get frustrated, we become resentful, and all of this builds up over time. This is where the practice of letting go becomes essential. Let's start with anger. It's one of the most common and destructive emotions we experience. Maybe someone cuts you off in traffic, maybe a colleague disrespects you, or maybe a friend breaks a promise. That anger can be like a fire that burns inside you, consuming your thoughts and emotions. If you're not careful, it can turn into resentment and then into bitterness. But here's the thing, holding on to anger does not hurt the person who wronged you. It hurts you. You're the one carrying that emotional baggage. The person who upset you may have moved on, but you're still holding on to the anger. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much time we waste when we are angry." So how do we deal with anger? The Stoics suggested acknowledging the emotion without becoming controlled by it. Instead of letting anger take over, you pause and reflect. Why are you angry? What is beneath that anger? Often, anger stems from feelings of injustice, hurt, or powerlessness. By recognizing this, you gain a sense of control over the emotion. Imagine you're in traffic and someone cuts you off. In that moment, you feel the hot surge of anger. But instead of letting that anger dictate your actions, you pause. You take a deep breath and remind yourself that this person's behavior is beyond your control. You can't change what they did, but you can control how you respond. You choose to let it go, not because you condone the action, but because you realize that holding on to that anger only harms you. This is the power of mental discipline, the ability to choose how you react to life's challenges. It's about recognizing that emotions are not meant to control you. Instead, you control how you process and respond to them. And when you release negative emotions like anger, you free yourself to focus on what truly matters. Another negative emotion that can weigh heavily on us is guilt. Maybe you did something in the past that you regret. Perhaps you hurt someone's feelings, or you didn't live up to your own expectations. Guilt can be a heavy burden, and it's easy to get stuck in the cycle of self-blame. But here's a truth. Guilt, when left unchecked, serves no purpose. Guilt can be a signal that we need to reflect and grow, but when we let it fester, it prevents us from moving forward. The Stoics believed in acknowledging our mistakes, learning from them, and then choosing not to dwell on them. Epictetus taught, "Don't explain your philosophy." As in other words, don't get caught up in feeling guilty about the past. Instead, learn from it, and use that wisdom to guide your future actions. For example, imagine you feel guilty about a past mistake. Maybe you didn't show up for a friend when they needed you. The guilt you feel can be a signal that you want to be a better friend. The question is, what are you going to do about it now? Will you let that guilt control you, or will you use it as a motivation to show up more fully in the future. Letting go of guilt is about recognizing that you can't change the past. You can only control how you move forward. The Stoics emphasized the importance of self-reflection, but they also knew that dwelling in guilt doesn't make you a better person. Action does. Guilt becomes useless if it doesn't lead to positive change. Instead of feeling guilty, take the lesson from the mistake and make amends or resolve to act differently next time. Another powerful emotion we need to address is fear. Fear can be paralyzing. It can keep us from trying new things, from speaking up, from taking risks. Fear is a natural response to uncertainty, but often it's blown out of proportion in our minds. We fear failure, rejection, judgment, and the unknown. But fear is often a product of our imagination, not reality. The Stoics believed that we can train ourselves to face fear by acknowledging it and confronting it directly. Fear is an emotion that thrives on uncertainty. It becomes much more manageable when we face it head-on and recognize that in many cases, the worst-case scenario isn't as bad as we imagine it to be. For example, let's say you're afraid of speaking in public. The fear of judgment or failure can feel overwhelming. But instead of letting that fear control you, you acknowledge it. You recognize that the fear is a product of your imagination. It's not based on any actual event. By accepting the fear and deciding to move forward anyway, you begin to weaken its grip on you. The more you face your fears, the less power they have over you. The art of letting go isn't about eliminating negative emotions entirely. It's about acknowledging them, understanding them, and choosing not to let them dictate your life. When you practice Stoicism, you realize that your emotions are valid, but they don't have to control you. Instead, you control how you respond to them. By letting go of anger, guilt, fear, and resentment, you free yourself from the burden of negative emotions. You reclaim your power. And in doing so, you open yourself up to a life that's not defined by past mistakes or imagined fears, but by your actions, your growth, and your ability to respond with wisdom and resilience. Life is full of challenges. Some are big, like the loss of a loved one, a career setback, or a major illness. Others are small, like a difficult conversation, an unexpected delay, or a misunderstanding with a friend. But here's the reality. Challenges are inevitable. No matter how much we plan, no matter how much we try to control our environment, obstacles are a natural part of the human experience. The question is not whether challenges will come our way. They absolutely will. The real question is, how will we respond to them? This is where the Stoic practice of reframing comes in. Reframing is about changing how we perceive and interpret challenges. It's about looking at adversity not as something that's happening to us, but as something that can help us grow and improve. Stoics like Epictetus and Seneca were masters of reframing difficult situations. They believed that it's not the event itself that causes suffering, but how we choose to interpret that event. Let's take a moment to really grasp this concept. Imagine you're facing a major challenge at work. Maybe you've been given a huge project with a tight deadline. You could look at this situation through a lens of stress and overwhelm, thinking, "This is impossible. I don't have time for this." But what if, instead of seeing the challenge as a burden, you reframed it as an opportunity for growth? What if you chose to look at this situation as a chance to develop new skills, to challenge yourself, and to prove to yourself that you're capable of handling adversity? This is exactly what the Stoics practiced. They understood that adversity was a tool, not something to avoid or resist, but something to embrace. Marcus Aurelius often wrote in his meditations about the idea of turning obstacles into opportunities. He would remind himself that everything, even difficulties, could be used for self-improvement. As he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action." This concept is incredibly liberating. It means that instead of being overwhelmed by difficulties, we can use them as fuel for personal growth. The Stoics didn't believe in avoiding discomfort or seeking an easy life. They believed that hardship, when approached with the right mindset, can lead to wisdom, strength, and resilience. Let's think about this in a practical context. Have you ever faced a situation where things didn't go as planned? Maybe a project failed or you made a mistake. The natural instinct might be to feel defeated, embarrassed, or discouraged. But reframing this situation from a Stoic perspective means asking yourself, what can I learn from this? For instance, let's say you're working on a project and it falls apart due to unforeseen circumstances. Instead of getting upset or frustrated, you might ask yourself, what skills can I develop to prevent this from happening in the future? What did I learn about myself in the process? This practice of reframing doesn't mean ignoring the negative emotions that arise. It doesn't mean pretending everything is fine when it's not. It means choosing to see the opportunity for growth in every challenge. By doing this, you shift your focus away from the problem and toward the solution. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start seeing yourself as an active participant in your own growth. Take another example. Let's say you've experienced a personal setback. Maybe a relationship ended or a goal you worked hard for didn't come to fruition. It's easy to fall into a mindset of regret and disappointment, wondering what went wrong and why things didn't work out. But reframing this situation through a Stoic lens means asking, what can I learn from this experience? How can I grow from this? For instance, a failed relationship can be a painful experience, but it also offers an opportunity for self-reflection. You can ask yourself, what can I learn about my own behavior in this relationship? How can I communicate better next time? By reframing the challenge in this way, you are able to transform your experience from one of loss into one of learning and growth. One of the most profound aspects of Stoicism is its ability to help us see challenges as part of the natural order of life. Rather than resisting difficulties, the Stoics taught us to accept them, understand them, and grow from them. This mindset can be incredibly powerful, especially when you're faced with adversity. When you stop viewing challenges as obstacles to be avoided and instead view them as opportunities to strengthen yourself, you change your relationship with struggle. You no longer see hardship as something that's happening to you, you see it as something that's happening for you, to help you grow, evolve, and become more resilient. Let's take a step further into reframing challenges by considering a growth mindset, a concept popularized by psychologist Carol Dweck. A growth mindset is the belief that your abilities, intelligence, and talents can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. This is the perfect complement to Stoic thought, as it encourages us to see every challenge as an opportunity to develop and improve. When you approach challenges with a growth mindset, you're no longer focused on the fear of failure. Instead, you're focused on the potential for success that comes from learning, experimenting, and improving. You start to see failure not as a permanent setback, but as a necessary step on the path to success. And this mindset not only helps you embrace challenges with a sense of purpose, but it also gives you the courage to take risks and step outside your comfort zone. For example, let's say you're trying to learn a new skill. Maybe you're learning to play a musical instrument or mastering a new software for work. At first, it feels difficult and you might even struggle with the learning process. But instead of getting frustrated or giving up, you embrace the challenge. You reframe it as an opportunity to improve and grow. You remind yourself that mistakes are part of the process and that every failure is just a stepping stone toward mastery. This approach to challenges, whether in your personal life or in your work, can significantly change the way you approach obstacles. Instead of avoiding difficulty or seeing it as a sign of failure, you begin to view it as a sign of progress, an opportunity to build resilience, to develop new skills, and to become a stronger version of yourself. So, next time you face a challenge, whether big or small, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this difficulty help me grow? And if you find yourself getting frustrated or discouraged, remember the Stoic wisdom. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. By reframing challenges in this way, you unlock a mindset that doesn't just survive adversity but thrives on it. Life is full of challenges. Some are big, like the loss of a loved one, a career setback, or a major illness. Others are small, like a difficult conversation, an unexpected delay, or a misunderstanding with a friend. But here's the reality. Challenges are inevitable. No matter how much we plan, no matter how much we try to control our environment, Obstacles are a natural part of the human experience. The question is not whether challenges will come our way. They absolutely will. The real question is, how will we respond to them? This is where the Stoic practice of reframing comes in. Reframing is about changing how we perceive and interpret challenges. It's about looking at adversity not as something that's happening to us, but as something that can help us grow and improve. Stoics like Epictetus and Seneca were masters of reframing difficult situations. They believed that it's not the event itself that causes suffering, but how we choose to interpret that event. Let's take a moment to really grasp this concept. Imagine you're facing a major challenge at work. Maybe you've been given a huge project with a tight deadline. You could look at this situation through a lens of stress and overwhelm, thinking, "This is impossible, I don't have time for this." But what if, instead of seeing the challenge as a burden, you reframed it as an opportunity for growth? What if you chose to look at this situation as a chance to develop new skills, to challenge yourself, and to prove to yourself that you're capable of handling adversity? This is exactly what the Stoics practiced. They understood that adversity was a tool, not something to avoid or resist, but something to embrace. Marcus Aurelius often wrote in his meditations about the idea of turning obstacles into opportunities. He would remind himself that everything, even difficulties, could be used for self-improvement. As he wrote, the impediment to action advances action. This concept is incredibly liberating. It means that instead of being overwhelmed by difficulties, we can use them as fuel for personal growth. The Stoics didn't believe in avoiding discomfort or seeking an easy life. They believed that hardship, when approached with the right mindset, can lead to wisdom, strength, and resilience. Let's think about this in a practical context. Have you ever faced a situation where things didn't go as planned? Maybe a project failed, or you made a mistake. The natural instinct might be to feel defeated, embarrassed, or discouraged. But reframing this situation from a Stoic perspective means asking yourself, what can I learn from this? For instance, let's say you're working on a project and it falls apart due to unforeseen circumstances. Instead of getting upset or frustrated, you might ask yourself, what skills can I develop to prevent this from happening in the future? What did I learn about myself in the process? This practice of reframing doesn't mean ignoring the negative emotions that arise. It doesn't mean pretending everything is fine when it's not. It means choosing to see the opportunity for growth in every challenge. By doing this, you shift your focus away from the problem and toward the solution. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start seeing yourself as an active participant in your own growth. Take another example. Let's say you've experienced a personal setback. Maybe a relationship ended or a goal you worked hard for didn't come to fruition. It's easy to fall into a mindset of regret and disappointment, wondering what went wrong and why things didn't work out. But reframing this situation through a Stoic lens means asking, what can I learn from this experience? How can I grow from this? For instance, a failed relationship can be a painful experience, but it also offers an opportunity for self-reflection. You can ask yourself, what can I learn about my own behavior in this relationship? How can I communicate better next time? By reframing the challenge in this way, you are able to transform your experience from one of loss into one of learning and growth. One of the most profound aspects of Stoicism is its ability to help us see challenges as part of the natural order of life. Rather than resisting difficulties, the Stoics taught us to accept them, understand them, and grow from them. This mindset can be incredibly powerful, especially when you're faced with adversity. When you stop viewing challenges as obstacles to be avoided and instead view them as opportunities to strengthen yourself, you change your relationship with struggle. You no longer see hardship as something that's happening to you. You see it as something that's happening for you to help you grow, evolve, and become more resilient. Let's take a step further into reframing challenges by considering a growth mindset, a concept popularized by psychologist Carol Dweck. A growth mindset is the belief that your abilities, intelligence, and talents can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. This is the perfect complement to Stoic thought, as it encourages us to see every challenge as an opportunity to develop and improve. When you approach challenges with a growth mindset, you're no longer focused on the fear of failure. Instead, you're focused on the potential for success that comes from learning, experimenting, and improving. You start to see failure not as a permanent setback, but as a necessary step on the path to success. And this mindset not only helps you embrace challenges with a sense of purpose, but it also gives you the courage to take risks and step outside your comfort zone. For example, let's say you're trying to learn a new skill. Maybe you're learning to play a musical instrument or mastering a new software for work. At first, it feels difficult, and you might even struggle with the learning process. But instead of getting frustrated or giving up, you embrace the challenge. You reframe it as an opportunity to improve and grow. You remind yourself that mistakes are part of the process, and that every failure is just a stepping stone toward mastery. This approach to challenges, whether in your personal life or in your work, can significantly change the way you approach obstacles. Instead of avoiding difficulty or seeing it as a sign of failure, you begin to view it as a sign of progress, an opportunity to build resilience, to develop new skills, and to become a stronger version of yourself. So, next time you face a challenge, whether big or small, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this difficulty help me grow? And if you find yourself getting frustrated or discouraged, remember the Stoic wisdom. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. By reframing challenges in this way, you unlock a mindset that doesn't just survive adversity, but thrives on it. Throughout this journey, we've explored many aspects of Stoic philosophy: the importance of gratitude, the practice of mental discipline, the power of reframing, and the art of letting go of the past. But there's one key idea that ties all of these practices together: inner calm. In a world filled with noise, distractions, and constant demands on our time and attention, it can be incredibly difficult to find moments of stillness. We're often pulled in so many directions by the chaos of our surroundings, by the pressure to achieve, and by our own racing thoughts. But the Stoics understood something essential: true peace comes from within. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, repeatedly reminds himself that peace is not found in the external world, but in the way we engage with it. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." This powerful insight highlights the core of Stoic philosophy, that no matter what happens in our lives, we have the power to choose how we respond. True inner calm isn't about eliminating all the noise or escaping life's challenges. It's about finding a way to remain centered and grounded in the midst of chaos. It's about choosing to respond to life's challenges with wisdom and clarity instead of reacting with stress, frustration, or anxiety. So how do we achieve this kind of inner calm? The Stoics believed that it starts with mindfulness and self-awareness, the ability to recognize when our thoughts are spiraling and take a step back to recenter ourselves. Instead of allowing the external world to dictate our emotional state, we take responsibility for our reactions. We realize that we can control how we experience life, no matter what happens outside of us. One of the most powerful Stoic practices for cultivating inner calm is negative visualization, a concept we've touched on before. By regularly imagining worst-case scenarios, we prepare ourselves mentally and emotionally for adversity. This may sound counterintuitive, but by confronting the worst-case scenario in our minds, we realize that we can endure far more than we give ourselves credit for. It's not about expecting the worst, but about preparing ourselves for anything so that when difficult situations arise, we're not caught off guard or overwhelmed. Another key practice is acceptance. The Stoics believed in accepting the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. This doesn't mean passive resignation or indifference. It means accepting reality and choosing to respond to it thoughtfully. When we resist reality, we create inner conflict and frustration. But when we accept that some things are beyond our control, we can focus our energy on what we can influence: our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. Let me give you a practical example of how this works. Imagine that you're in a situation where you're waiting for something. Maybe you're stuck in traffic, or you're waiting for an important call, or you're dealing with a delay. You could easily let this situation frustrate you. You could get upset, angry, or anxious about the lost time. But the Stoic approach would be different. Accept the situation as it is. Understand that you can't change the delay, but you can choose how you respond. You could use the time to reflect, to focus on your breath, or to mentally prepare for what's next. Instead of allowing frustration to take over, you choose to remain calm. This practice of acceptance is liberating. It allows you to let go of the need to control everything and instead focus on what you can control: your response, your attitude, and your presence in the moment. In addition to acceptance, another key element of cultivating inner calm is self-compassion. It's easy to be hard on ourselves, especially when things don't go as planned. We can get caught in the trap of self-criticism, constantly telling ourselves that we're not doing enough or that we should be further along. But self-compassion, as the Stoics taught, is essential for maintaining peace of mind. This means that while we should strive for personal growth, we should also treat ourselves with kindness and patience when we fall short. Being kind to yourself allows you to stay grounded during difficult times. It helps you bounce back more quickly from setbacks, knowing that you are capable of growth and improvement. When you practice self-compassion, you stop being your own harshest critic and start becoming your own biggest supporter. Finally, the Stoic idea of mindful detachment plays a crucial role in maintaining inner peace. This doesn't mean shutting yourself off from the world or becoming indifferent to the challenges you face. It means recognizing that you are not your emotions or your circumstances. You are the observer of your thoughts and feelings. You can observe your emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. By practicing mindful detachment, you create the space necessary to respond with clarity and wisdom. For example, if you find yourself feeling anxious or stressed, instead of reacting impulsively, take a step back. Observe the emotion. Ask yourself, what is the source of this anxiety? This simple practice of pausing and reflecting creates the space for mental clarity and calm. The power of stillness cannot be overstated. When we cultivate stillness, we create the space necessary to hear our own thoughts, to reflect on our actions, and to make intentional decisions. In a world that's constantly moving, it's easy to get swept up in the rush. But when we take time to pause and be still, we reconnect with our inner selves. We rediscover our strength, our resilience, and our ability to navigate life with grace. The Stoics understood that stillness isn't about doing nothing. It's about being present and anchored in the moment. This inner calm gives us the strength to handle whatever life throws our way. It helps us respond with wisdom, clarity, and equanimity, no matter what external challenges arise. So, what's the takeaway here? The key to finding peace in the present is practicing inner calm. It's about letting go of the need to control everything around us and instead focusing on how we respond to life's challenges. It's about accepting reality, cultivating self-compassion, and creating the space to observe our emotions and thoughts without becoming overwhelmed by them. And when we do this consistently, we begin to live more fully, more intentionally, and with a deeper sense of peace and fulfillment. The Stoics believed that true peace comes from within. It's not something you find in external circumstances or achievements, but something you cultivate through mindfulness, acceptance, and discipline. The more you practice these Stoic principles, the more you'll find that inner peace is always available to you, no matter what's happening outside. That's the Stoic secret to inner calm. When you can control your mind, you can find peace in the midst of chaos. And that peace becomes your greatest strength. Hey, thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful and want more content on personal growth, Stoic philosophy, and living with purpose, make sure to hit subscribe. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Just click the button and let's keep growing together.